Now that we have looked at the basic and the first few steps in the field, in the first two sections, we want to move on to look at a few additional details. If we look at the Cruise Pilot's hotkey menu, we can see a small window at the top right. Various symbols are displayed here to explain why Cruise Pilot is currently unable to accelerate any further. Later on in the video, we will take a look at the different symbols, because the occurrence of various limits is highly dependent on the conditions. Numerous different harvesting situations are listed here. Depending on the situation, a different target throughput may therefore also be set. The sieve symbol is now showing us that the cleaning losses are the limiting factor. At the moment, the straw walker symbol is showing us that our separation losses are preventing the machine from travelling at a faster ground speed. Both the separation and the cleaning losses may increase to a point just below the black line before Cruise Pilot reduces the ground speed. Cruise Pilot looks at the maximum loss level on the loss monitors. So it is important that we set the sensitivity for both the separation and the cleaning losses correctly. We must still always check the field itself to see how high the losses actually are. Then we can adjust the sensitivity if need be. The higher the set value, the greater the influence of losses on Cruise Pilot. The material quantity in the feed house may also be the factor that limits the ground speed selected by Cruise Pilot. In the hotkey window, the actual material quantity that has been measured rises to the target throughput that we set. This limiting factor is also displayed in the hotkey window at the top right. The small vehicle symbol appears when the combine harvester reaches the maximum ground speed that we set. As you would expect, Cruise Pilot may well switch back and forth between two or more limits, depending on which factor has the strongest limiting influence at that moment. If the engine load exceeds the maximum engine load set by us in the main menu, the ground speed is limited, or even reduced if necessary. The engine symbol is displayed to show us that this is happening. When we reach the end of the field and raise the cutter bar, Cruise Pilot identifies that there is no more material to cut and switches to headland mode. By shifting the ground speed control lever forward slightly, we can now deactivate Cruise Pilot and accelerate the machine. Once we have turned and are back into the crop with the cutter bar lowered, we need to briefly press the automatic control button on the ground speed control lever to reactivate Cruise Pilot. Now we want to take a look at how Cruise Pilot behaves in the unloading mode during the unloading process. First, we will pivot out the grain tank unloading tube. Once we have activated the unloading process, Cruise Pilot switches to discharge mode and displays this symbol. First, the ground speed is reduced slightly to create a power reserve. Then, we continue by travelling at a constant ground speed while the unloading process remains activated. Unloading mode will be automatically deactivated 30 seconds after the unloading process is ended. Alternatively, we can stop unloading mode at any time by pressing the automatic control button again. As we saw in the first section, we can always deactivate unloading mode in the Cruise Pilot main menu, but this is much more difficult for the grain trailer driver. When this symbol appears, the machine is adapting to the new harvest conditions. A new limit value cannot be displayed.